she has created a lot of publicity for Disney, and not always
good.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and it's extremely dated.
When you fumble a Disney legacy, the fall isn't graceful. It's not soft, it's not slow, and it sure as hell isn't forgettable. It's loud, it's messy, and worst of all, it's permanent. Rachel Zegler didn't just miss the mark with Snow White. She didn't just have a rough press tour. She detonated her own career trajectory in real time while the whole world watched. And now, with whispers swirling that the Simpsons are already plotting a second parody aimed straight at her meltdown, it's clear this isn't just about bad interviews or cringy soundbites anymore.
Big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Rachel Zegler has stumbled into something way bigger than one viral moment. She's staring down the barrel of pop culture immortality, the kind you don't come back from. It didn't have to be this way. Snow White was always going to be a tough sell. An 85-year-old fairy tale dragged into the modern era, stripped of its magic, sanitized of anything resembling the original heart it had when it first enchanted audiences in 1937. But Disney still could have pulled it off. Maybe, if they had handled it with care. Instead, they handed the crown to someone who didn't seem to even want it. Rachel didn't just distance herself from the old story, she openly mocked it. She dragged it through the mud at every opportunity, dismissing the prince as a stalker, dismissing the love story as weird, dismissing the very concept of fairy tales that didn't come with a lecture attached. At first, the backlash started small.
She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
A few grumblings, a few viral TikToks side-by-siding her interviews with clips from the original movie. But it didn't stay small. It metastasized. Because audiences weren't just reacting to what Rachel said, they were reacting to how she said it. Cold, arrogant, detached, like she thought she was above the very story millions of people had loved for generations. And if there's one thing audiences won't tolerate, it's being talked down to by the people they trusted to carry their nostalgia forward.
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Then came the tipping point. The Simpsons, always lurking like a cultural shark sensing blood in the water, moved in for the kill. They didn't have to exaggerate. They didn't have to twist her words. They just mirrored her back at herself, with a yellow cartoon princess who lectures woodland creatures about toxic tropes and tries to rebrand magic into a TED Talk. It wasn't even satire in the traditional sense. It was a carbon copy. And that's why it hit so hard. It didn't feel like a joke. It felt like documentation. But the real disaster didn't start with the parody itself. It started the second Rachel saw it. Insiders close to the situation say the moment clips of Snow Woke flooded TikTok and Twitter.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Hold on.
All right.
Rachel hit full-blown panic mode. This wasn't just irritation. This wasn't rolling her eyes and moving on. This was frantic phone calls to Disney, desperate outreach to Fox's legal department, direct pressure on the Simpsons producers. The message was loud, desperate, and clear. Pull the episode. Censor the parody. Make it disappear. And that's where Rachel made her fatal mistake. Because if there's one thing the Simpsons don't do, it's back down when a celebrity panics. The writers didn't blink. The producers didn't flinch. Instead, they laughed. One Fox insider compared Rachel's team to people calling the fire department after the house had already burned to the ground. The satire was already protected under law. It was viral. It was airtight.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Rachel's desperate attempt to silence the roast didn't put out the fire. It poured gasoline all over it. And behind closed doors, the situation took an even darker turn for Rachel, because writers who had already moved on started sharpening their pencils again. Brainstorming, scribbling, laughing. If the first parody had been a warning shot, her reaction practically invited a full-blown bombardment. In the world of satire, weakness isn't a shield. It's a green light. Instead of slowing down, the Simpsons writers allegedly got energized. Rumors started flying almost immediately. Early concept pitches allegedly included brutal, no-holds-barred ideas. A cartoon princess storming onto a live Krusty the Clown special, waving a cease and desist scroll in the air, and demanding that jokes be emotionally approved by the Kingdom's Ministry of Feelings. Another pitch floated a fake reimagining studio, where fairy tales are only allowed to exist if they pass a 37-point empowerment checklist.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
Spoiler alert, none of them do. And then there was the most savage idea of all, a fake Netflix promo starring Rachel's cartoon doppelganger, rebooting every beloved classic into a soulless, preachy disaster nobody asked for. And here's the brutal part. They didn't have to invent anything. Rachel's real-life meltdown had written the script for them. But while the writers loaded up their second round of shots, Rachel made another fatal misstep. She went dark. In the chaos of her backlash, Rachel didn't fight back. She didn't laugh at herself. She didn't issue a cheeky, self-aware response that might have disarmed the mob. She didn't even offer a lukewarm, "Hey, satire is fair game" statement. She said nothing. And in 2025, when the internet moves at the speed of light, silence doesn't read as maturity. It reads as fear. The memes didn't slow down. They doubled. The reaction videos didn't cool off. They exploded. The parody clips didn't fade into the background. They became the background noise of her entire career, without a counterattack, without even a single shred of humor or humility.
It's not funny, Bart. Millions of girls will grow up thinking that this is the right way to act.
Rachel wasn't just mocked. She was cemented into meme history. By the time the dust started to settle, Rachel Zegler wasn't trending because of Snow White anymore. She was trending because she had become the perfect symbol of what happens when Hollywood stars mistake the audience's loyalty for obedience. When they forget that fairy tales aren't about lecturing the audience, they're about enchanting them. And the worst part? Rachel still doesn't seem to realize the storm isn't slowing down. It's just beginning. While Rachel disappeared behind closed doors, thinking silence might shield her from the fallout, Hollywood was taking notes. And not in the way she would have hoped, because the deeper Rachel's meltdown sank into public consciousness, the more the industry realized it wasn't dealing with a one-off embarrassment. It was dealing with a cautionary tale. Quietly, behind studio doors, a new phrase started circulating among executives, agents, and casting directors: the Zegler effect.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
The Zegler effect wasn't about one bad interview. It wasn't even about one failed movie. It was about how fast everything can unravel when a star forgets the most basic rule of entertainment. Audiences aren't required to love you. You have to earn it. And if you act like you're above them, they'll remind you, loudly, that you're not. Inside the industry, things got dark fast. Sources claim media training manuals are being rewritten. Casting directors are allegedly sneaking vibe tests into audition processes, trying to sniff out which young stars might go viral for all the wrong reasons. Studio legal teams are running Simpsons drills, simulating how a celebrity would react if they became the butt of a national joke overnight. It's no longer just about talent. It's about survivability. Could this actor survive a Simpsons parody? Could they laugh it off? Or would they collapse under the weight of a single bad meme?
Snow White blows them all away. Chat, this movie has everything. Horrifying, CGI, little people, check. A feminist princess who don't need no man, double check. Diddy dance party at the end, double Diddy check. All this to say, go see Snow White right now.
Because if Rachel proved anything, it's that vibe alone can kill a career faster than any scandal ever could. And Hollywood, for once, was paying attention. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Rachel's silence was metastasizing. Every day she stayed quiet, the parody grew teeth. Every TikTok audio stitching her snow woke voice to break up videos, every Twitter thread dissecting her cold press tour, every YouTube commentary calling her the final boss of bad PR. They weren't random. They were cementing a narrative. Rachel wasn't seen as brave for taking a stand. She wasn't even seen as a villain worth fighting against. She was becoming something worse, a punchline audiences didn't respect enough to hate. They just laughed. And if you know anything about celebrity culture, you know this. You can survive outrage. You can survive scandal. You cannot survive indifference. Sources say even Disney, once fiercely protective of its live-action princesses, started quietly backing away. Marketing executives allegedly described Rachel's situation as untenable, not because of anything new she did.
The new one, not that old stupid one where the princess gets saved by some good, upstanding guy.
But because she let the first punchline win. The longer she stayed silent, the more it looked like she had no idea how to fix it, and no real instinct for how to connect with the people she was supposed to. enchant. And then came the whispers. The leaks from inside the Simpsons writing room started dripping into the internet like gasoline onto a bonfire. The sequel episode? Allegedly, it's not just about mocking Snow White anymore, it's about mocking Rachel's entire meltdown. Early concept sketches reportedly include brutal scenes, a parody princess storming a TV studio mid-broadcast, clutching a cease and desist scroll like it's a royal decree, demanding emotional approval for all jokes, a grim Netflix knockoff where Rachel's character is the face of every disastrous reboot, every soulless cash grab remake, every dead fairy tale Hollywood has tried to resuscitate for profit, a satirical reimagining agency where villagers have to submit fairy tales for diversity audits before they're allowed to tell stories at all, and not a single one passes. And the savage kicker, the writers aren't even exaggerating. They're barely stretching reality.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Because Rachel's real-life panic handed them everything they needed, and then some. Behind closed doors, some writers allegedly joked that the second parody wouldn't feel like satire at all. It would feel like a documentary. And that's the nightmare Rachel's facing now. Because one parody, that's survivable. That's something you can laugh off, pivot from, recover. But two becomes your legacy. If The Simpsons air a second episode, and every leak points to the fact that they will, Rachel won't just be the girl who mishandled Snow White. She'll be the textbook example of how not to handle fame in the internet age. Already, insiders claim casting agents are treating her name with caution, not because she's untalented, not because she's controversial, but because attaching Rachel Zegler to a project now means running the risk of memes, mockery, and memification. It's a brand liability. Imagine being an executive trying to reboot a beloved franchise, and knowing the second your star opens her mouth, audiences will be side-by-siding her interviews with Simpsons clips, waiting to pounce. It's a nightmare scenario, and in Hollywood, once you're seen as a risk, you don't get second chances, you get replaced. What's worse is that Rachel's downfall didn't come from some massive scandal. She wasn't exposed for crimes. She didn't betray anyone. She didn't get caught in a secret that detonated her public image. She got caught by her own vibe, her own detachment, her own inability to read the room. And that's way harder to fix, because you can apologize for a mistake. You can't apologize for making people feel like you don't respect them. Right now, Rachel stands at a crossroads and it's closing fast. She could still claw her way back, own the joke, laugh at herself, show audiences that she's more than a sour interview clip frozen in time. Hollywood loves a redemption arc when it's done right, but if she keeps running, keeps hiding, keeps pretending the firestorm doesn't exist, then when that second Simpsons parody drops, and make no mistake, it's coming. It won't feel like an attack. It'll feel like confirmation. Confirmation that the audience was right to stop believing. Confirmation that the magic she was trusted to protect didn't just slip through her fingers. It got crushed under the weight of her own ego. In the end, Rachel Zegler won't just be a star who lost her moment. She'll be the warning poster stapled to the walls of every studio lot in Hollywood. A reminder that in 2025, it's not enough to be talented. You have to be grateful. You have to be connected. And when the audience laughs at you, you better know how to laugh with them. Before you vanish under the weight of a joke you can never outrun.